You know what gets my goat? When games are unfinished. I'm not just talking about games that release and they have glitches and stuff. No, no, no. Games that are straight up unfinished. Let's, for example, take Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This channel is basically based on Pokemon, but now it's sad. Anyways, that game was definitely not finished. Nintendo is usually known for finishing their games. You could still walk over to a store, go to your local GameStop or something, take a game off the shelf, stick it right into the Switch, and there you go. You can play the game to your heart's content. Nowadays, that's not the thing. The games are usually not finished whatsoever. Here's one of the most famous unfinished games to this date, Cyberpunk 2077. This game was definitely not finished. Whatever happened in the office, who knows? It's probably like, hey, Dom, how's the game looking like? Hey, boss. Well, the game is not finished. Maybe 75% done. Whatever. The due date is tomorrow. We gotta release this game tomorrow. Just pack up what you got and release it to the public. You see, this is what games are like now. It's just for the quick buck. They don't take the time and effort to make the game. I want to take a game that's actually really good and very well known across the community and probably around the world. Actually, three games that are really well made. Now, we want to start off with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, or just the Legend of Zelda series in general. But sticking to Tears of the Kingdom, this game released phenomenally. There was barely any glitches or unfinishedness on day one. There was glitches, of course. Every game comes out with glitches. But if you look at this game, you can still play version 1 and have a great time. There's no day 1 update. Well, there was a day 1 update. But there's no day 1 bug fixes that is 60 gigabytes because, oh, they didn't finish the game. Or, we gotta work on this, but you gotta release the game on the actual release date instead of just delaying it. Yeah, we're getting... All you would have to do is delay the game, and the game would come out perfect. If you delay it a couple days or a couple months or whatever, the game would come out probably perfect. But nowadays, you're sitting around looking at games. You gotta be scared. You gotta be worried about if the game's gonna be out in one piece. What if you wanted to give this to like a birthday present or something? And it's a game, and you gotta be worried if the game's actually gonna work at all, or is it just gonna be a waste of money? I don't know. But here's another game that came out like horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. You remember Star Wars Jedi Survivor? Oh my goodness, that game came out terrible. Terrible game. It just like, it wasn't finished at all. You could, at some points you can just walk straight through the map because why not? It's mind-boggling how the companies decide, hey, let's just release the game. It's on time, whatever. But in the long run, your game is not going to do as good as it should. Like, if we take Star Wars, I guess, for example, that game would have released and probably still would have been talked about, maybe. But yeah. Now, here's another more recent one. The Star Wars Battlefront OG collection or whatever that came out recently, that one also had some pretty bad launch. And now no one really talks about it because the game sucked at launch. They of course fixed it like all companies do, but like what's that gonna do in the long run? If you release a game, it should be finished. There's only a few games that actually do this to this day. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Grand Theft Auto series, all of those games are basically finished and ready to go. We got a GTA 6 coming out soon. And honestly, it's not even the worst thing if they delay it. You want the games to be perfect. Perfect games are better than games that release having multiple issues and pretty much at a state of unplayabilityness. That's a funny name. Anyways, unplayable state of games is not what we want. We want something that's finished and ready to go. Most of Nintendo's games are finished and ready to go. You can walk over to your store, get the game, stick it in the Switch, even if you don't have the internet, play the game. That's the only console that still does that. Now we're kind of talking about physical and digital. No. I'm just trying to reach to the point about games that you can still play without no updates or whatever on day one of the game coming out. That's fine. If it's digitally, that's fine. But there's no glitches. Like, if the game came out 20 minutes ago, you should be fine. You should be ready to play. Nowadays, that is very rare to get. Maybe a 20% chance that you're going to have a perfect game. Maybe even less. 10% chance that you're going to get a perfect game on release. 90% of the time, that game is going to have something wrong with it. But I guess it's perfectly normal for the company to be like, well, we're just going there. It's not that bad. Unless it's game-breaking glitch, game-breaking bug, you should be fine with the game having a little bugs. But that's not the problem. That's not the problem at all. It's just seeing the games that you paid for being unfinished. Cyberpunk, for example. That game released. It took them a whole other year to fix the game that should have been fixed on day one. You know how much hype and stuff that game would have got if it was fixed on day one? There's so many people that talk about it negatively still, even though the game is fun, even though I never played it. It's probably fun, right? Yeah, you guys played it. Okay. Yeah, so even probably a Nintendo Switch could have run it because how bad it was optimized for the consoles. The PS4 and Xbox One versions of the game were completely taken off of the store. That's how bad that game released. Now, I was recently playing a game, and of course, because what else do you do? I was playing a game, and I noticed I had it on version 1 patch, never updated. This game ran horrible. It was terrible. Terrible. Like, there's no reason that this game should have ran as bad as it did. And for some reason, it was running terribly. Like, you had to get a full computer to play the game. I don't know. It was so awful. But anyways, I'm not going to be playing through the game. But it was pretty bad, let me tell you. Okay. So, yeah. This is all I want from the game industry. Having finished games would be amazing to see. Like, let's just say I make a game and I did it in 2 seconds. Would someone buy it? No, probably not. Now, look at these games that are finished. There's a guy that made Lethal Company. Is that, yeah? This guy made more money than Tom Cruise did inside of Top Gun Maverick. That's crazy. And he was a solo developer. If a solo developer can do that, I'm sure the AAA developers with hundreds of people working on one game are able to do this. So, yeah, I just want to bring this out for you fine people. And yes, if you enjoyed this episode of random stuff, consider dropping a like. Maybe subscribing if you are new. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day and see you in the next one.